Groundwater is a valuable resource in both the United States and throughout the world. Whereas surface waters such as lakes and rivers are scarce or inaccessible, groundwater supplies many of the hydrologic needs of people everywhere. In the United States, groundwater supplies about half of the population's drinking water and provides about 50 billion gallons for agricultural purposes per day. The groundwater is pumped from subsurface areas called aquifers. Aquifers were first accessed by wells for basic home needs, but as the population grew, new wells were dug to pump water for entire cities across the nation. The massive increase in water intake started to take water out of the aquifers quicker than they could be refilled, resulting in groundwater depletion or aquifer depletion. Consequences of aquifer depletion are land subsidence, sinkholes, saltwater intrusion, cones of depression in the water table, and a major water loss for people and communities that depend on them. Land subsidence caused by an aquifer is where land over an aquifer sinks due to the lack of support. In some cases, this can be so severe as to cause sinkholes large enough to swallow entire houses. Saltwater intrusion is where aquifers close to coastlines mix with salt water, rendering the water undrinkable without purification to remove the salt. Heavy pumping of the aquifers depletes the fresh water supply, drawing in salt water to make the aquifer unusable. Also caused by heavy pumping are cones of depression in the water table. These happen when the water in an area is pumped out so quickly the water table is not given enough time to recharge. This lowers the water table and dries out wells in the area, forcing them to be moved or dug deeper. Over time, areas across the nation have been stricken with these problems due to aquifer depletion. In West Central Florida, overuse of the groundwater has led to saltwater intrusion as well as subsidence in the form of sinkholes. Several areas in the Gulf coastal plain have been experiencing negative effects caused by groundwater depletion as well. Here in Houston, extensive groundwater pumping to support economic and population growth has caused water level declines of approximately 400 feet, resulting in extensive land subsidence of up to 10 feet. Some areas using the High Plains Aquifer have experienced water level declines of more than 100 feet in several areas. In the desert southwest, increased groundwater pumping to support growth in the area has resulted in water level drops between 300 and 500 feet in much of the area. Land subsidence in the desert southwest was first noticed in the 1940s, and as much as 12.5 feet of subsidence has been measured. The lowering of the water table has also resulted in the loss of streamside vegetation. This picture shows the Santa Cruz River south of Tucson, Arizona in 1942 and 1989. In the 1942 picture, vegetation is growing in the riverbank area of the river, showing sufficient water was available at the level where plant roots could reach them. The 1989 picture shows how a large amount of the riverbank vegetation has disappeared as a result of lowered groundwater levels. In Chicago, groundwater has been used approximately since 1864 and has been the sole source for drinking water for about 8.2 million people in the Great Lakes watershed. This long-term pumping has lowered groundwater by levels as much as 900 feet. In other countries, aquifer depletion is also an issue. Places in North Africa as well as the Middle East are experiencing harsh water shortages. In Iran, villages are being evacuated because of wells drying up and failing to support the population. One estimate reported that the water table has dropped by 8 meters in 2001 in parts of Iran. In 2004, it was predicted that the capital of Yemen's water supply would run out in 10 years or 2 years from now. In our favorite country, China, groundwater depletion has led to the Yellow River not reaching the ocean for months at a time. The longest dry spell for this has been a consecutive 200 days. All in all, aquifer depletion affects everyone's life. The water supplies to many cities around the world are being dramatically decreased. The groundwaters farmers depend on for irrigation are being depleted and not recharged quick enough by surface waters. This issue will only become more serious as time progresses.